The next thing that we look at is the total fat, which is right here. The total fat is the number of fat grams contained in one serving of the food. Fat is an important nutrient that your body uses for growth and development, but you don't want to eat too much. The different kinds of fat are saturated fat, unsaturated, and trans fat, and they'll be listed separately. So in this particular box, we have, in a serving, we have 2.5 grams of fat, and that's broken down into 1 gram of saturated fat, which is actually the bad kind of fat. We have 0 grams of trans fat, 0.5 of polyunsaturated, and 1 gram of monounsaturated fat. If you look at the cholesterol and sodium numbers, these numbers tell you how much cholesterol and salt are in a single serving of the food. So the cholesterol, there's 0 milligrams, and the sodium, there's 200 milligrams of salt. And then if you look over here at your daily value, you can see that you actually have 8% of that is your daily value. People are interested in looking at cholesterol and sodium because some people should limit the amount that is in their diet. The next line item is carbohydrates, and in this particular box of cereal, the total carbohydrates is 21 grams, and carbohydrates are your body's primary source of energy, and this total is broken down into grams of sugar and grams of fiber. In this particular example, we have 1 gram of dietary fiber, and we have 9 grams of sugar and 11 grams of other carbohydrates. You really want your dietary fiber to be about 2 to 5 grams in a serving. This sugar is a pretty high number. Notice over here for your total carbohydrates, that's 7% of your daily value. The next number is protein. There are 2 grams of protein in 1 serving. Your body needs protein to build and repair essential parts of the body, such as muscles, blood, and organs, and it's often measured in grams. So that's all at the top part of the food label. If we look down at the bottom part, you will notice that there are different kinds of vitamins listed. In this particular package, there is vitamin A and vitamin C, and each amount is given as a percent of daily value. You'll notice that here, both of these are 0%, so there's none of that in this particular food. They also list other minerals, such as calcium, which is 0%, iron, which is 25%, and then all of these, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, those are also, there's 25% of those in this particular serving of food. The last thing that's important to look at on a food label is the ingredient listing, and this is at the bottom. In this particular box of cereal, you can see that it has corn flour in it, sugar, peanut butter, etc. The ingredients are listed in order so you get an idea of how much ingredient is in the food. When something is listed first, second, or third, you know that this food probably contains a lot of it. The food will contain smaller amounts of the ingredients mentioned at the end of the list. So in this particular example, we notice that corn flour is the number 1 ingredient. So this particular cereal has a lot of corn flour. Then the second ingredient is sugar, and the third ingredient is peanut butter. So these are all the most important ingredients in this particular box of cereal. The last thing is folic acid, so that's going to have the least amount of that. It's important to check the ingredient list to see where sugar appears. You want to limit foods that mention sugar in the first few ingredients. That means it's a very sugary food. Sugar has different names, so it might also be called high fructose corn syrup, sucrose, or glucose. And in this particular one, the only sugar that I see on here is right here under sugar, but it is the second ingredient listing, so that is a lot of sugar. So this is just an example of a food label. In a little bit, you're going to be able to look at other food labels and compare them to each other. Remember, this was for 3/4 of a serving, the serving size was 3/4 of a cup. So if you ate 1.5 cups of this cereal, you would have to double everything. So for example, instead of 110 calories, it would be 220 calories.